So 10 years ago, I was chronically dysregulated, holding on to my last ounce of hope, when a doctor told me that I would never get better and that I would just have to learn how to cope for the rest of my life. And I want to tell you what happened next. I'm Sonia. I built EFT Companion because of everything I'm about to tell you. So I want to start with something that I genuinely believed for a long time, that the way I felt, the chronic anxiety, the high highs and low lows, the constant unease, the physical symptoms that nobody could fully explain, was just who I was, my baseline, just how I was wired. I mean, in passing, I was always called sensitive or weak, so why should I believe any different? And I had professional opinions to back that up. People that I had trusted, people with actual credentials who looked at everything I was going through, or so I thought at the time, and essentially said that this is probably just how it is for you. Learn to cope. Start medicating. You're just a sensitive person. And I'm not sharing any of this to be dramatic. I'm sharing it because if you're here watching this, there's a real chance that you've heard something like that too, or felt it, even without anyone actually saying it out loud. That quiet, exhausting belief that regardless of what you're going through, that this is just your life now. And I want to talk about that and how my life is entirely unrecognizable. I think it's worth being specific because anxiety, depression, stress are words, clinical terms that are really easy to brush past and are used really commonly. And I don't want to brush past this. What I experienced was not just worry or nervousness. It was a body that felt perpetually braced. Like I was always waiting for something bad to happen, even when nothing was wrong. A nervous system that had genuinely just forgotten what settled felt like. And honestly, in hindsight, I feel like I actually never knew it. There was physical tension that I had stopped noticing because it had just become my normal. There was exhaustion that sleep didn't fix, not really, There were weird, hard to explain symptoms, the kind that makes you feel like your body is misfiring and just operating incorrectly. The doctors investigated, they would find nothing conclusive, they would send me home, usually with the shrug saying, you're actually the ideal body type. And then there was like that mental layer on top of all of it. The endless trying to figure it out. Why am I different than everyone else? The researching, the believing that if I could just understand it well enough, I could think my way through it, discipline. I'd have these moments of insight that felt like real progress, and then a week later, I would be right back in the same place. And if any of that sounds familiar, regardless of what you're going through, you're not making it up. You're not being dramatic. And what you're experiencing is real, even if every test is coming back normal. So here's the thing about being told to just cope or being dismissed by a doctor. Part of you believes it, even when you don't want to. Part of me believed I deserved it, or there was no hope for me, or I was just different. Because the people telling me this had credentials. Because I had tried things and they didn't work. Because my own body kept seeming to confirm this story. What I did not understand at the time, and what I think is genuinely worth knowing, is that the people who could not help me were mostly working with one layer of what was happening. The behavioral layer, the diagnostic one, the physiological one. The layer that never came up in any of my appointments until I started asking about it myself was my nervous system. Not my thoughts, not my behaviors, but the patterns living in how my autonomic nervous system had learned to respond, what my body had come to predict. Nobody asked me what I had been through in my life, what my baseline had become after years of running in a state. Those patterns are real, but they are also learnable. And that distinction between something being real and something being permanent turned out to matter enormously. So how I came across EFT is, I think, where my story tends to differ from most people on the internet talking about EFT and tapping. I actually grew up in it. Emotional freedom techniques. It's also just known as tapping. You'll find a bunch of stuff online. It was just kind of woven into my life as a kid. And use it here and there and feel genuinely better. But I didn't think much of it at the time because I was 8. Now as an adult, though, I can understand why EFT feels strange when you first encounter it. Like, I'm sitting here just tapping on my face. How is this supposed to help when years of actually trying everything else didn't? or when professionals are telling me that I don't have any hope to change. For me, even with that background, I didn't really understand how powerful EFT was until my life fell apart, until I hit real rock bottom. Someone I trusted encouraged me to try it again, this time consistently with a practitioner. I was hanging on by a thread, so I said, okay. I was full of disappointment and rage that a doctor told me to give up on my life. So I decided to give it a real shot. And I kept at it. And what I noticed, slowly, not in one big dramatic moment, though I did have a few of those over the years, was that my body started responding differently. Memories that had carried a lot of weight and pain started to feel less activating. Then they became neutral. And this background hum of tension that I was living with for years started to just lower. And things that would have previously sent me into this overdrive just started to feel okay. Not because I had talked myself through them, because something at the body level had actually shifted. I started feeling things that I don't think I ever felt before, like true forgiveness and real compassion, and a kind of peace that I never knew. Now, I want to be careful about what I'm claiming here. EFT is not a cure, and it won't look exactly the same for you as it did for me. Bodies are different, histories are different, experience is different, healing is deeply personal. I know that. But the change I experienced was real, and the person talking to you right now has a genuinely different relationship with her body and with stress than the person who was told that change wasn't in the cards for her. If there is one thing I want you to take away from any of my videos, it's hope. That's really it. It's just hope. So what does this mean for you? This part's about you, not me. I don't know your story. I don't know how long you've been in this, what you're struggling with. Maybe you're completely fine. I don't know what you've tried or what you've been told. Maybe you've been dismissed by doctors. Maybe you've been handed a prescription and sent home. Maybe you've just quietly stopped expecting things in your life to change because hoping and being disappointed is its own kind of exhausting. I hear that. I really do. But here's what I know. The nervous system is not fixed. It's a learning system. It's built the patterns that it's currently running, which means under the right conditions, it can build different ones. That's not wishful thinking. That's neuroscience. The brain retains plasticity. The autonomic nervous system retains the capacity to recalibrate. Stress responses that have become habitual can, with the right inputs, begin to shift. This isn't fast work. It isn't linear. God knows it was not linear for me. It doesn't happen through insight or willpower alone. And I say that because I tried both of those routes for a really long time. I'm being honest with you, not discouraging you. The only thing that I want to discourage you from is that this belief that where you are right now is where you will always be. That belief is what kept me stuck more than anything else, and it turned out to be wrong. If you're curious about EFT, I would just say come to it with patient curiosity. Try it consistently enough to actually notice whether anything shifts. Not one session, not with pressure riding on it, no attachment to outcome, just genuine, grounded openness over time. The research is growing. It's not perfect. I wish there was more of it, but I love that people are talking about it in ways that wasn't open for me when I was a child. Consistently, the studies that are around show reductions in physiological stress markers, reduced emotional charge around specific memories and triggers, and effects that tend to hold over time rather than fading. Whether any of that applies to what you're carrying, I can't say for certain, but if you've been handed the story that things can't change for you in any context of your life, I'm just offering a different data point. They changed for me in ways I genuinely could not have predicted when I was in the middle of it. I went from spending 3 weeks in bed at a time to now living my dream life. It's hard to imagine, but that's where I'm at. So EFT Companion. If you've made it this far, I want you to know something. The fact that you're here, curious, looking for answers, still trying to understand what's happening in your mind or body, that matters. That's not nothing. That's actually where change begins. EFT Companion is what I built because of everything I just shared with you. Guided tapping sessions designed specifically for nervous system regulation. Structured, accessible, and no experience needed, with the opportunity to have more personalized assistance. Just you and a willingness to try something different. It's the tool I wish I had 10 years ago. And if you're ready to start somewhere, I would love for it to be here. I'm Sonia, and if I can change my life, so can you.